Hello friends, welcome to GCA. Hope you all are doing good. So today the video is regarding Army Service Corps, and this is going to be the 10th video in the regimental series, and if you want to watch previous videos, the link is available in the I button. So basically this is the first video in the services, and before that I have made videos on combat and combat supporting arms. So in this video, first I will cover the role of ASC, followed by background history, then role in operations, and finally how to join ASC and who can join ASC. So again, without wasting any time, let us start. So ASC stands for Army Service Corps, and it is known as the lifeline of the Indian Army because during wartime, the men and the vehicles of the ASC are the preferred target of the enemies, whose aim is to somehow break the supply chain and starve the frontline troops of the basic needs, for example food, fuel and medicine. And ASC is the oldest and the largest administrative service of the Indian Army. So as we know that troops march on stomach, and ASC ensures that their stomachs are not empty and the security of our nation is not compromised. So the ASC is responsible for the planning and execution of the logistic support of the Indian Army, and its main role include the provisioning, procurement and distribution of supplies of food ration, then FOL, that is fuel, oil and lubricants, and operation of mechanical transport and animal transport is also the responsibility of ASC. Then it is also responsible for the carriage and distribution of ammunition including mines, and the packing of commodities for supply, loading of aircraft, ejection of loads, training and provisioning of clerks for all the branches of staff at formation headquarters. Now ASC also handle postal services in the forward areas. So there are a lot of challenges which ASC encounters. For example, firstly they need to supply rations through underdeveloped road to inaccessible areas. Then secondly, they are always under enemy observation, and for that ASC use animals, helicopters and aircraft to transport and drop stores, and Indian Army is using mules from last many years as they walk miles on some of the most treacherous track, and they provide a logistic support in difficult situations. But just before the Kargil war, there was a proposal by the Indian Army to disband the animal transport unit that consisted of sturdy mules. But during the Kargil war, when Pakistani intruders they came inside Indian territory, and the situation was like that, it appeared that the line of communication would be cut, and even the helicopters could not operate because of difficult weather. So at that time, mules played an important role in ensuring supplies, and the animal transport units was used to provide logistic support to Indian Army post and troops fighting in the sector. So finally, the animal transport unit was the only available resource during the Kargil war that worked in face of intense shelling, and presently Indian Army has 6,000 strong force of mules which continue to be the most reliable last mile transport in difficult regions in the Himalayan area as well as the Indian borders in western and eastern sectors. Now a mule named Pedangi has the distinction of the longest serving mule in the Indian Army, serving for 37 years as compared to the average mule which served for 18 to 20 years. And Indian Army honored him by naming an officer mess after him. Now let us talk about the basic information of the Army Service Corps. So Army Service Corps is active since 1760, and its regimental center is at Bangalore, that is the ASC Center and College, and its motto is Seva Asmakam Dharma, and it celebrates its raising day on 8th of December every year. Now let us talk about the background of the ASC. So the origin of the Army Service Corps goes back to 1760, when a commissariat used to exist in the administrative component of armies of three presidencies, namely Bengal, Madras and Bombay, and depending upon the need of these armies, the size of the commissariat fluctuated. So these departments provided army with the requirement of food, transport and horses, and in 1878 the separate commissariat department was formed after combining all the departments of three presidencies, and it was named as Supply and Transport Corps in 1901. Until then, these departments were mainly manned by non-combatant personnel, but later on the militarization of the personnel started with the operations in northwestern frontier province where the Army Service Corps participated, and in 1902 the first mechanical transport vehicle was issued to the Corps. And later on the Corps rapidly expanded and took part in overseas campaign during the World War I, and the excellent performance of the Corps resulted in being named as the Indian Army Service Corps in 1923, and it was allowed to use the prefix Royal in 1935, and it came to be known as the Royal Indian Army Service Corps. But on 26th of January 1950, when India became Republic, the Corps dropped its prefix Royal and it became the Army Service Corps. And on 8th of December in 1952, the first Corps Day was celebrated, and that is why the Army Service Corps celebrates its raising day every year on 8th of December. And in order to fulfill various roles, many type of units were raised. For example, supply companies, supply platoons, transit platoons, cold storage units, fuel oil and lubricant units, then mechanical transport units and animal transport units. And at present, the animal transport unit consists of 6,000 strength of mules, which is divided into 15 units. And the mules in Indian Army are categorized on the basis of kind of load they carry. For example, in the first category of mules, they carry guns and weapons. Then in the second category, they carry general supply ranging from food, medicine, and even water. Then in September 1976, the supply and the FOL cover was again reorganized and supply depots were upgraded. And most of the independent transport platoons and companies, they were grouped into ASC Battalion Mechanical Transport. And on 1st of May 1999, the ASC School Bareilly was moved and it was merged with ASC Center South and Army School of Mechanical Transport, and it was named as ASC Center and College. And on 31st of March 2011, the relocation of the ASC Center North from Gaya to Bangalore was completed. Now let us talk about the role of Army Service Corps in operations. So the units of the Army Service Corps, they served in the far-flung theatres of operations from Japan to Europe, and the Royal Indian Army Service Corps, they carried men and material, and they played an important role in supporting the main offensive of the 14th Army across the grain of the Burmese mountains. And post-independence, ASC has taken part in operations in Kashmir, northeastern region, then India-China War of 1962, and India-Pakistan Wars of 65 and 71. And most of these conflicts, they took place at short notice. But despite all the odds, ASC rose to the occasion and delivered the goods. Now ASC has been actively involved with the logistics for the various low-intensity conflict operations and CI operations, and it also took part in Indian peacekeeping force operations in Sri Lanka, and it has effectively met the supply and the transport need of our troops deployed in Operation Meghdut and Operation Rakshak. Then during Operation Vijay, the Corps had risen to the needs of our brave soldier and excelled by providing the invaluable logistic support in the difficult and the treacherous terrain of Carlisle sector. And 874 AT Battalion got unit citation in Operation Vijay for their exemplary services. Then the Army Service Corps has also served overseas for the United Nations peacekeeping missions in Korea, Egypt and Congo. And ASC contingents were sent to Mozambique and Somalia as a part of Indian logistic contingent for UN force in the Mozambique and Indian peacekeeping contingent for Somalia, and both the contingents have accredited themselves well in the true tradition of the Corps. Now let us move to the last part of the video, how to join Army Service Corps and who can join. So firstly, both boys and girls are eligible to join Army Service Corps, and one can join ASC through non-technical entries like NDA entry, CDS entry and NCC entry. So if you are going through these entries, you can join. There is no issue of vacancies in ASC. So this is all about today's video, and I have tried to keep this video as short as possible, and I hope this information will be beneficial for you. So till then, keep learning, keep watching and keep supporting. Best of luck for your upcoming SSB. Thank you.
As I told you, I am primarily a logistician. The challenges of the logistics don't make a very good narration. सुनाने में उतना कोई romantic नहीं लगता है. But let me tell you, the logistical challenge is tremendous, and I thoroughly enjoyed them. As a logistician, the challenge of logistics is even peculiar, very, very peculiar to the Indian Army. For that matter, most of the armies, because you aren't given a choice. The tactician he makes a plan. When he is making a plan, he can choose whether we can approach this task, whether we cannot approach this task. Can we go this way or can we go that way? Can we do it in the morning? Can we do it in the evening? He got all those choices. He may feel that probably the manpower and the capabilities that I have, probably the frontage that I can cover is only this much and not this much. Right? He can feel so. He can decide so. He can give that logic. But a logistician doesn't have any choice. Wherever he goes, you got to live up to that expectation. Wherever he's got, you got to be right behind him. You're not going to be asked, do you have the wherewithal and the resources and the capability? क्या आपके पास उतना साधन है, उतने लोग हैं उस पहाड़ पर लॉजिस्टिक्स पहुंचा देने का? Do you have that many vehicles which can do this? Do you have that many stores which can do this? Those questions are there, but generally there's a foregone conclusion. एक generally पूछ लेंगे. Anybody who's listening from the army will agree to me, and probably they may have different opinion. The entire operational discussion of the army is only about tactics. If it is a 2-day discussion, say 6 hours daily, so out of that it will be 11 hours, 11 to 11 hours it will be tactics. After they decided on the plan, then they will look at the logistics. So you got anything to say? So he's got to only say, how am I going to meet it? मोस्ट प्रोबेबली एक आधा बार देखा होगा मैंने, वेरी वेरी शार्प अगर कोई होगा, ही कैन गेट अप एंड से कि सर logistically this is not feasible. Very rarely I've seen someone. Otherwise most of the time you go to say that yeah really. So logistical challenges are very very huge, very huge, and there are no options. Nobody is asking you whether you can do this or not. I was there in Jammu once handling the entire transport logistics, the fulcrum of transport logistics of the entire JNK, the entire advancement just talking to all the stockings begin from Jammu, so to transport. And if you remember, there was a flash flood in Leh once. So all that stocking that had happened was all washed up, went down. And there was, we always a logistician, you are running against time that the passes will get closed. So we simply told, now make it up. So something we are doing in 6 months, now we do in 15 days, right? Even more, because a lot of damage had happened, a lot of cement had to go, a lot of, which wasn't there part of the initial logistics. So all that logistics of food and supplies that was stocked were washed off. And now again bhejna hai. So it's not that only you need to push up fuel, but now also the barrels, because of the curbside pump थे जिसमें fuel store किया गया था, that also had gone off. So now no time to make those curbside pumps, जैसे पेट्रोल पंप पे होता है नीचे टंकी होती है, वो नहीं था. So you need to push in barrel also. There are a lot of damage to the structures that had happened. So you need to push off, a lot of cement, entire malgadi full of cement came to ours. You need to push it up and you're rushing against time. The passes will close. So the logistical challenges are, for the first time I'm talking, because it doesn't make very good narration. Everybody wants to talk about battles. But I'm telling you, the logistical challenge is always a very, very big, and they're real. Why I'm telling you real is that even when you go for a training exercise in the Indian Army, so at times, due to constraints of equipment, time and cost cutting, right, we simulate a few things. Okay, let us presume that, okay, for a brigade of, so we'll move a small body of troops, presume that brigade move kariye. Let's see how. We will same export, वो same template we will get our lessons. अगर हमको पता करना 50 आदमी कितनी देर में चलेंगे तो 10 भी तो चला के उतना ही देर लगे ना, तो why make that? So, but in logistics there is no presumption. Even if they've gone for training, they're going to eat real rations. Na? All the vehicles and tanks that have gone there will actually be consuming real fuels. You cannot say, okay, presume that you've had food. You cannot say, okay, presume that you had fuel in your gadi, in your tank, in your guns. You cannot say presume. So even the challenge of logistics is always real. It's never a training exercise. Though we've gone for a training exercise, but the logistics challenge is actually not only like I'm from the Army Service Corps, whether it is the Corps of Engineers again, the Corps of Signals there. So they got to actually make people communicate in that place, establish those lines and every infrastructure and network. That cannot be imaginary. Presume that आपकी बात हो गई है, नहीं भैया बात तो करानी है. So that is the logistical challenge, and slightly they don't get that due what the people should give. But you look back at all the military history and the battles of the world, most of it is you get your logistics right, 9 out of 10 you're going to win the battle. They always go down as an unsung heroes, but that is what it is. And I can be very proud of one thing. I can claim that one part. That never, I am from the Army Service Corps originally, the premier logistic corps of the Indian Army. Never ever has Indian Army lost even a single or the smallest battle, even if a post, for lack of ammunition, for lack of rations, for lack of fuel. So as far as this is concerned, the success rate of the Indian Army's logistician is 100%.
Our duty, our unbroken creed, the heart of the core where we take the lead. Through valleys and peaks, on perilous ground, we carry the mission where courage is found. Logistics in motion, precise and keen, the silent heroes, steadfast unseen. The army marches on its stomach, they say, and we make it possible, come what may. We bring the strength, we bring the might, through endless days and the darkest nights. Food, rations, transport we provide, the backbone of valor by your side. victory with all our might. Through deserts blazing or icy breath, we march for the troops through life or death. From rolling convoys to air and sea, we're the power behind their destiny. We answer the call, we never fall. The corp is the strength that supports them all. We bring the strength, we bring the might, through endless days and the darkest nights. Food rations, transport we provide, the backbone of valor by your side. With grit and resolve we stand as one, under blazing heat or a fading sun. From soaring mountains to deserts wide, we make sure the soldiers are fortified. With bring the strength, we bring the might, through endless days and the darkest nights. Food rations, transport we provide, the backbone of valor by your side. Service is our honor, our lasting vow. The corpse of the army, we stand here now. Guardians of hope, the unsung pride, the spirit of victory by your side. We bring the strength, we bring the might, through endless days and the darkest nights. Food rations, transport we provide, the backbone of valor by your side.